Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, it's Cashing Out. This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome into hour number 2. I'm Dustin Swedelson. Pleased to be with you tonight. It was a crazy day in sports. There was just a lot happening. The baseball was good. Scooball went crazy, sailed over his K-prop. We just had an insane Knicks 20-point comeback win against the Pacers. Oilers are now up 2-1 in the Western Conference Finals. There was motorsports. There was golf. You can't beat it on a Memorial Day. And to help us talk about all of it, put it into perspective, especially when it comes to betting and behind the counter, going to welcome in my guy, Arthur DeCesar, over at the Superbook Sportsbook. He is a risk manager. You can find him at ArtDice21 over on Twitter. Arthur, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate you doing it. It was a crazy day. Let's go back to the Knicks-Pacers game where the Knicks end up winning 106-100. Game goes under the total, 224. Knicks were short dogs, plus 1.5. But as a native New Yorker who's now out in Vegas like I am, what did you think of the 20-point comeback? Brunson on the bench. Karl Anthony Towns outscores the Pacers in that final frame pretty much. And the Knicks somehow give Indiana a taste of their own medicine. What did you think of that game?
Well, the Knicks had to have it. And not only did they have to have it, I think the NBA felt that way because, you know, the NBA wants these series to be extended. And the Knicks, this is what they do. This is their MO, right? I mean, they get down 20, 25 points. They did twice to Boston. It was an interesting game as far as a booking standpoint. You know, when it was sitting 1.5, 2, we got pretty good two-way action on the game. Game's been bet under. You know, the total got driven down to as low as 223. And, you know, it would go back up, fluctuate. So it was going back and forth. Pretty good two-way action. Really no decision as far as the game goes because the spread was so low. You see a lot of money line stuff. You see people putting both sides in parlays. So just a really good handle game as far as the book goes.
Yeah, and look, as a Knicks fan, Arthur, I want to be wrong about this, but I do think the number is right when it comes to Game 3. I'm seeing 2.5 out there when it comes to Indiana laying, or Game 4. Indiana laying 2.5, total 221.5. Totals come down a little bit there. I think the Pacers might be the play. If I was going to force you to choose a side here, how would you go on Tuesday in Game 4?
Interesting. Right now, Dustin, we're sitting 2.5, 221 is our total. And you're right, that total has come down a little bit. I think you're right. I think it is the right number. And I think this is another game where you'll see really good two-way action because of the tight spread. You know, I got to be fair, and it's not me just saying this because the Pacers are up 2-1. I thought Indiana was going to win the series in 6. I'm going to stick with that. All these games have been close. They've all been kind of coin flip games. Either team could have won any of these games. I think the Pacers are going to find a way to win the game, probably lose Game 5 and then win Game 6 at home. But it's a tight series, coin flip of a game. We're happy to see this. And listen, we want series to be extended. We want more content. We want more stuff for the people to bet.
Yeah, look, I think we could frame this a few different ways. The Knicks could very well be up 2-1. The Pacers could very well be up 3-0. No 20-point lead is apparently safe when it comes to the postseason. It's been weird in the NBA. I think it's been mostly good. I think it's tough for the people who hate the NBA to crap on what we've seen so far because the 20-point comebacks, well, one team has to blow it. There is another team that has to make the miraculous comeback, so it's been awesome. Let's shift over to the Western Conference where we've got a Game 4 coming up tomorrow. Oklahoma City, 3-point road favorites. That totals 219. And I don't know where you stand with the Thunder, Arthur, but I was very late to this party. I was not buying Oklahoma City. Every expert we had on was selling me that this is a historically great team when it came to a metric standpoint. And I'm finally admitting they are that good. they're built to not win one, but they're built to win multiple titles, and that's whether or not they want to trade for Giannis. But when it comes to tomorrow, what do you think of the spot here where they get blown out, rest the starters in Game 3, and now they go from 2.5 point favorites in that one to now laying 3 on the road on Monday?
Yeah, and Dustin, we're even a little bit higher. We're 3.5, and we took sharp money at 2.5 and 3. So, we have a minus 3.5 now. We are dealing minus 107 on NBA sides.
Love that.
So we are a little bit different as far as not laying minus 110 or minus 115. Our total has creeped down a little bit as well, 218.5. But I think the fact that the Thunder were kind of blown out early and just knew this was a game they could give away. Not that you really ever want to give games away in the postseason, but they didn't have to fight tooth and nail and lose a heartbreaker. I think they can come into the game tomorrow, feel comfortable, feel rested, know they just have to get one in Minnesota, and then they can come back to OKC and close it out. And I'm with you. I didn't think this was a historic team. SGA, he doesn't shoot threes like these new age players, but his mid-range is incredible. He gets to the free throw line. They got 1 million guys on that team. And you mentioned the future. I mean, with all those draft picks and all the things they can do, this is a team maybe that can win 2, 3, or 4 championships. But I think because of the early sharp money on the Thunder, that's where we're going to get. It'd be interesting to see if we ever get to 4. I don't think we will. But I think eventually you will see a nibble on Minnesota at 3.5, especially if we're going to be the only 3.5 out there with a lot of threes out there.
Yeah, right now you guys the only 3.5 out there. So we'll see what the morning looks like. Sometimes these things shift when everyone's sleeping. It's where those G's move in silence like lasagna. He's Arthur DeCesar with us from the Superbook at the Westgate. Find him over on Twitter at ArtDice21. Just curious from a liability standpoint, because it's the New York Knicks. It's a massive market. Obviously, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Indiana, not really huge markets. I'm curious from a public sharp perspective, what's the liability futures-wise when it comes to winning the title on the 4 teams we have left in the NBA?
Yeah, when we look at the NBA, we are set up perfectly on OKC, who right now is minus 275 to win the title. They were as high as 350 when they were up 2-0, and then obviously they lost Game 3, so they went down a little bit. But to be really set up perfectly to really, sweep our pot, basically, to have a nice decision of a win if OKC can win, that would be perfect. The team we get hurt on the most is Minnesota. And then Indiana and New York are slight losers. They're not as big as you would think. I've heard some people around town say they get killed on Indiana. We're not necessarily in that boat. It is a loser, but not a huge loser. Minnesota would be the biggest loser for us out of these Final 4 teams.
All right, Arthur, what about the NHL? Let's move over there where Edmonton sending a message to Dallas. 6-1 today. That offense, when they get rolling, when they're clicking, I don't know who's able to really stop what they have going. Skinner's been great in net. How surprised are you the way they've played here to lead the series 2-1 thus far against the Oilers?
I think we all know about Edmonton's offense. We all know about Draisaitl. We all know about McDavid. I think you mentioned the key factor here is Skinner. This is a guy, their defense and goaltending has always kind of set them back from winning, even last year when they made that run to the Cup. But he shuts out Vegas in the last 2 games. He's playing great in Game 1, and then he just has like a weird stretch where the Oilers take 1 million penalties and he gives up a bunch of goals on the power play, which can happen. And now he's been great here the last 2 games. If Edmonton's going to get this type of goaltending and this kind of defense, and the Stars' big guys aren't scoring, they're not producing, and that's going to be a problem. Despite them having home ice, they could still win Game 4 and get back on track. But it looks like Edmonton is going to roll back to the Cup. And I think, no surprise in the East, Florida's going to be there. I think we're going to have a rematch.
Yeah, look, Florida's inevitable at this point. Man, Carolina, good team, nice team. But the path was very easy. New Jersey with no offense at all. Then follow that up with Washington, who was the one, but really not a true one when you think about from a talent perspective, such a surprise team. Panthers probably going to be rested, Arthur. Who is a bigger challenge to them to win the Cup should they see them? Would it be Edmonton and all the firepower in the rematch, or Dallas, who was super aggressive at the deadline, trailing 2-1?
It's interesting. I think both matchups are tough for Florida. And Florida will need the rest, because they got injuries. Reinhardt's banged up. Tkachuk doesn't even seem like he's fully himself. So they will be happy to get the rest, especially if they sweep here. They'll get nice rest. But I look at Florida. I think they will be dogs to both teams because they're not going to have home ice either, and the injury stuff is lingering. I mean, you could look at Edmonton maybe opening $1.20 in that range, maybe a little bit higher, and then Dallas probably in that range too. Maybe $1.15, $1.20. But Florida's game, we know that because this will be their third straight cup, and they are the defending champ. And I don't think we're getting a bad final, no matter who we get out of the West matching up against Florida.
I don't know about you. I know you're a big hockey guy. I'm not as much as I was when I was a lot younger. I was a big Islander fan, but Mike Milbury just kind of sucked the life out of my fandom with all the trades that he made in the late 90s, early 2000s. When we look at Edmonton, it's Canada's last hope, man. And I used to troll Canadians and Maple Leaf fans about not having a cup since 93 in the Canadians. Edmonton, can we get it done for Canada? Can we make that happen, Arthur?
Well, like I said, if the goalie's going to play this way, if he's going to look like Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur, Dominic Hasek, name any of the great goalies you like, if he's going to play that way, Edmonton's going to win the Stanley Cup. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And listen, it's funny, Dustin. I said this to a friend of mine who's a Canadian guy once. Well, you guys haven't won in 50 years. He goes, Canada wins the Stanley Cup every year because all the players are Canadian.
Of course.
And I was like, okay, that's a fair point. But still, they haven't had the team, like you said, since the 93 Canadians when they beat the Kings.
But they have to come to America to win the cup. And if we send it back, we're putting a tariff on that thing. That's what we're doing these days. He's Arthur DeCesar. You can find him over at the Superbook and on Twitter at ArtDice21. Man, thanks for doing this. We'll do it again soon down the road.
Dustin, it was a pleasure, man. I told you when we were on the break, we've been circling this a long time, my friend. So it was an honor to come on with you and talk, and hopefully we do it again. For sure.
Great stuff. Give Arthur a follow at ArtDice21 and go see him. Risk manager over at Superbook in the Westgate. Good stuff, man. The hockey is going to be fascinating. The Stanley Cup final, he's right. Whoever we get, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be electric. Hockey doesn't ever fail to deliver. The question is, can someone from the East give Oklahoma City a run in the final? Because I'm at a point. They're Thanos. They are inevitable, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not one, not two, not three. I don't know how many they're going to win, especially if they end up adding Giannis. 3 up, 3 down when it comes to Monday's baseball card next on Cashing Out.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
No Sunday scaries here. It's Cashing Out. I'm Dustin Swedelson, filling in for Joe Serralo. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Appreciate you making me a part of your night, however you may be tuning in. YouTube TV, Sirius XM Channel 158, and of course, on the VSiN Watch app. Give me a follow at Twitter, at Dustin Swedelson. Of course, give the channel a follow at VSiN Live, putting out great stuff left and right. Should note, we just talked about NBA in the postseason. I was reading Zachary Cohen's latest article up at vsin.com. I won't give you all the spoilers, but I do believe when it comes to Thunder and the Timberwolves, he likes the team that is a feline in that much. Wait, no, hold on. Canine, not feline. Canine, wolf. Got to remember what Timberwolves are. They're not cats. They get a big purr in Karl Anthony Towns. We got a lot to get to today, including a look at the upcoming games on Monday when it comes to Major League Baseball. We'll do some more detailed breakdowns when it comes to each individual matchup, but this is a little segment I like to do on an old show we did here on VSiN. It was Sharp Money, RIP, pour one out. Pour one out for Sharp Money. 3 up, 3 downs, what we called it, where we looked at kind of who's doing well, who's not, and how we can apply that to the betting space when it comes to Major League Baseball. So let's begin our 3 up, 3 down traveling here with the Texas Rangers and one, Jacob deGrom. Looking at Jacob deGrom and the Texas Rangers tomorrow. Interesting matchup for them hosting the Toronto Blue Jays. Right now, the Rangers are -162 favorite, whereas Toronto's plus $1.36. That total is 7.5. deGrom has been phenomenal. Over the last month, 31 innings pitched, pitching to a 1.45 ERA. He's picked up 4 wins, 36 strikeouts with a .81 whip. He's all the way back, people. He's not quite prime deGrom, but he's not far off. I mean, and they need him to be. The Texas offense still is not helping them out at all. And the pressure's on him to perform like this. Luckily, from his days with the Mets, he knows what that type of battle is like night in and night out. A 1.45 ERA over his last 5. He's awesome at home. 1.47 ERA. And with this game starting at 4.05, a .90 ERA for one DeGrom during daytime. He's coming off 7 innings pitched, 2 earned, 9 punch-outs in the Bronx on Wednesday. And he's taking on a Toronto team that just got swept over the weekend. So I think it's a good spot to find ways to back DeGrom. I'm looking at a bunch of different books. Pitching props aren't up yet. So if I was going to give you a lean, something that jumps out to me with this matchup, with the Texas bats being kind of bad lately and DeGrom being on top of his game, I'm not normally a Yerfy-Nerfy better, but I think no run first inning minus 135 would be an interesting spot here. Just because Texas bats against Kevin Gausman, who has been up and down this year, and we'll get to him in the 3-down portion of this segment. I think Texas bats, if they get to him, it'll take a couple times through the order. And for DeGrom, he's been locked in of late. I don't see Toronto jumping on him in the first inning. So we'll go no run first inning minus 135 in Texas and Toronto as part of 3 up, 3 down. Here's an interesting name, and that is for the Minnesota Twins, their starter on Memorial Day Monday. The Twinkies are going to throw Chris Paddack on the bump. Now, Chris Paddack traded from San Diego a couple years ago in that trade for Taylor Rogers. I was looking up the details earlier. Brent Rooker was in that trade. I had no idea that that was the case, but it was Brooker, Taylor Rogers was in the package. Anyway, Minnesota's on the road. They are a slight dog, plus 105 at Tampa Bay. Rays are laying $1.25. That totals 9. And over the last month, Chris Paddack looked like that guy was a super hyped-up prospect back when he was pitching with San Diego. He had the long flowing locks, looked like sunshine from Remember the Titans. But over the last month, 29 2/3 innings pitched for Paddack, 2.12 ERA, 2 wins, 15 strikeouts, and a .94 ERA. Minnesota's playing a better baseball of late. I would look at potentially backing Minnesota at plus 102. I think their bats are going to start hitting here. And Zach Littell is an okay pitcher. He's serviceable. He's good. Not quite as hard as Paddack. I guess my concern with taking that plus price, though, would be that ballpark, George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. It is still a minor league ballpark. And anytime these teams are playing, whether it's there or Sacramento is a little bit different because the elevation plays a role. But I do think the ball flies out of there a little bit easier because it's not quite the dimensions you get at a big league ballpark. So maybe Paddack over 15.5 total runs. That would be my way to back a pitcher who's been awesome on the hill for Minnesota. It's 3 up, 3 down. This is Cashing Out, VSiN Live. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. VSiN Live over on Twitter. VSiN Live is the name of the show I do weeknights on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Let's go from hot pitchers to hot hitters. And weirdly enough, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Angels. Taylor Ward. You know, I have not seen an official starting pitcher for the Yankees. I've seen a couple different sites. One says it's Ryan Yarbrough. One says it's Carlos Rodon. Either way, we are backing Taylor Ward on Monday when it comes to hitter props. Taylor Ward's a guy for his career who mashes left-handed pitching. He is a guy who has good numbers against both Yarbrough and Rodon. And over his last 2 weeks, he's 20 of 52. He's hitting .385, 7 homers, scored 15 runs, 21 ribbies, and a 1,300 OPS for Taylor Ward. Guy just absolutely mashes southpaws. When I'm looking for player props, I'm generally a total base guy, especially if I can find plus money. I don't do well with home runs. In fact, I don't think I've ever hit a home run prop. But the total bases come in. Taylor Ward's a guy on Monday. I'm going to have total bases. Maybe I get a little nibble when it comes to the home run prop. But his career against lefties, he has an 809 OPS. He has 20 homers. I mean, he's a guy who hits around 280 against them. And against Rodon, if it happens to be him, he's 3 for 8 lifetime against Rodon with a homer. And against Taylor Ward, he's 4 of 8. That's a 500 batting average with a double. Double gets us our over 1.5 total bases. I don't know if we're going to get plus price on him tomorrow. I have a feeling we'll probably have to lay like a 110, 115 with him because he's the hottest hitter in baseball right now, absolutely mashing everything in his sight. But I think Taylor Ward's a guy worth looking at, especially with the Yankees throwing 1 of 2 southpaws on Memorial Day Monday. So from players doing well to the other side of the coin. Let's go 3 down here in our 3 up, 3 down segment. And I mentioned it briefly. Kevin Gossman going to start things off here. Got off to a good start this year, but over his last 5, a 5.06 ERA, a 1.13 whip. He's 4-4 on the season with a 4.03 ERA. He is coming off a good performance, I should note. 3 hits, 7 innings, shutout of San Diego on Wednesday, but he's been way worse on the road. 5.27 ERA versus 2.93 at home, a 6.86 day ERA versus 2.58 at night. So that's 2 instances there, with it being a day game, it being on the road, where I'm looking to potentially fade Kevin Gossman. He faced Texas twice last year. Both were Texas wins. And you look at the hitters for Texas, you don't really trust anyone at the moment. I would note Tucker Barnhart, if you're digging deep, has homered off him, 3 of 9 with 2 doubles and a homer for a light-hitting backup catcher. It's pretty good numbers for a guy like Barnhart. But Kevin Gossman's not someone I'm really, thrilled to back in this situation on the road at Texas. Also part of 3 down, this is Fade City every time he's on the bump. Montero for the Tigers, going to take the hill. Detroit is taking on San Francisco at home, -110 both ways. Birdsong on the hill for San Francisco. That totals 8. I'd lean over because I think Montero is going to get knocked around here. 5.28 ERA this season, 8 ERA over his last 2 starts, going just 9 innings over those last 2, a 1.78 whip. Fitzgerald and Chapman for the Giants, both are 2 for 3 lifetime against Montero. He's faced San Francisco once. It was last year. 5 innings, allowed 4 earned, 4 walks. He's just not a good pitcher. He allows a lot of contact. If I was going to go player prop, I think Helio Ramos from San Francisco would be a guy I might eye here. He's hitting .300 against righties this year. 7 of his 9 homers on the season. 17 of his 27 ribbies have come against righties. So Ramos might be a guy from a prop perspective I'd look at. If not, San Francisco team total. That'd be the way to look here because I do think they're going to get theirs in this matchup with just such a bad contact guy in Montero pitching for Detroit. And then finally, I feel bad. Look, when you're putting this segment together, you got to find people. And unfortunately for Carson Palmquist, he's going to be the final part of 3 down. 2 career starts, 8 1/3 innings, and his ERA is almost 12. He's got a 2.52 whip. He's faced some good teams in Philly and Arizona. And unfortunately for him, he's going to face a Cubs offense that is the 4th best OPS against righties. I already have a player prop. I'm going Kyle Tucker. Over 1.5 total bases, plus $1.30 over at DraftKings. I think Tucker's going to square this guy up, who allows a ton of contact, who's very hittable, and that Cubs lineup is going to give him fits on Monday. So that's where we stand when it comes to 3 up, 3 down. We'll get a little more matchup specific coming up here in a little bit on the show. Mano y Mano is a new segment I want to try out here, looking at some other player props from the batter side of things that could be in advantageous situations come Memorial Day Monday. But when we return, we got to hit the ice because Jonathan Davis, VSiN, NHL analyst, is going to join us. Does Dallas have enough to come back against Edmonton? And who's the tougher matchup for the Panthers, who are inevitable in the final? We'll discuss with JD next on Cashing Out. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
What a big Sunday in sports. We're all over it here on Cashing Out. Dustin Swedelson filling in for Joe Serralo. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got a lot to get to throughout the program. Obviously, more previewing when it comes to Minnesota-Oklahoma City Game 4 there in Minnesota. More reaction from Indiana blowing a 20-point lead to the Knicks. Jonathan Von Tobel, senior NBA analyst here at VSiN, going to join in about 30 minutes. But we've got to hit the ice here because my guy JD's been all over it at VSiN.com. You read his daily articles. He's been killing it. It's not just sides. It's not totals. It's not just trends. He's got props. He's got everything covered. I would just like to say he's been an awesome addition here to VSiN. He was basically part of the family for years, but we just made it official this year with him officially having the VSiN title. And he joins me now here on the Progressive Guest Line. JD, welcome into the show. I appreciate you doing this as always, man. But I mean it. You've been awesome. We knew you were an awesome guest, But now we know you're an awesome teammate, and it's been great talking hockey with you because you've gotten me into it more. And credit where credit's due. I asked you on Mad Dog Sports Radio a few months ago when the playoffs started. I said, Toronto, is this the year they bring Canada the Cup back? And you said, nope. They're soft. They're mentally weak. I'm not buying their superstars anymore. And I have to just tip my hat because so often we want to talk about people getting things wrong. I want you to get your credit where you were right. Toronto, not the team that could bring the Cup back to Canada this year. JD, how's your night going? Just your reaction to that and Toronto being out since the last time we spoke.
Well, my God, first off, what an introduction. I got a lot to live up to there, Dustin, and a couple of things. One, I will say, I did say Toronto was soft. I got to admit, though, I did say from a value standpoint, there was value in playing the Maple Leafs. And strictly on that point, look, I did have them going to the final because I just thought the price was too good. And I really didn't think that they were going to be playing Florida in round 2. I thought they were going to be playing Tampa. So if I knew they'd play Florida, I probably would have felt differently. Now, one other thing, though, Dustin, there is a violation that you have made tonight. You have got 3 more buttons done than Joe Sorello would. How is that allowed?
Well, I think because YouTube TV did alert us when they heard I was filling in. They said if I did my normal, which when I'm on my own, I let the hamburger meat out. But if I had the buttons down, they would have to rule this a TVMA television show, and that would limit our audience capabilities for the youth subscribers that want to, watch our show.
You're a good man.
That's the issue there. You mentioned Florida, and Florida taking out Toronto. They're inevitable. Carolina can't hang. And I think when you look at the Hurricanes and their path, right, they begin their postseason, JD, with the Devils team that had no offense, tons of injuries, no Jack Hughes. They then take on Washington, which is a great story in a 1 seed, but not as talented as you'd anticipate a 1 seed being. I'm just curious, how surprised are you that we're heading into a Game 4 on Monday and they're down 3-0 against Florida?
Well, I just figured that I figured they were going to have to finally win a game in the 3rd round. It's now we're now at 15 consecutive games, Dustin, that they have not won in the 3rd round, in their last 4 trips to the 3rd round of the playoffs. Yeah, that alone is surprising. What's crazy, is that they've got 9 players that were on the team that lost to Florida 2 years ago. They've got 5 players that were on the team that lost to Boston. And Dustin, when the streak first started in the early 2000s, there is still one person that is still on this roster for the Carolina Hurricanes. You want to guess who that is?
Who's that?
It's Coach Rod Brind'Amour.
I was going to ask if he's on the hot seat. If he's on the hot seat.
And Jordan Stahl's brother Eric was a player on that team. So we have had a Stahl brother that has lived all 15 games. Look, they are, as I've described, they are a team that if it was the NBA, Dustin, that likes to play full court press, but they're playing a team that can beat the press and beat it quite handily. And they have a coach in Rod Brind'Amour that just doesn't adjust. And this is a coaching failure to some degree on his part. And it's it's just not enough talent at the end of the day. Their best goal scorer, Andrei Svechnikov, 8 goals in the first 2 rounds, Dustin. He's now played, I think it's 17 or 18 games. He's gone up against Sergei Bobrovsky. And you and I have as many goals against Bob as Svechnikov does.
Hey, Bobrovsky looks awesome, though. He's locked in and ready. He's got some history to be made here in the postseason. For tomorrow's game, though, Florida, -180 favorites. Carolina, +150. Season on the line on the road. Your total's 5.5, a little bit of juice to the under. If you were going to play something tomorrow, what would you look at?
I'd play the puck line, for sure. And I even would maybe get as aggressive and playing -2.5. We saw it hit last game. We saw it hit today in the Dallas game. Just in general, puck lines. 51 of the 74 games in the playoffs this year have been decided by 2 or more goals. So 1.5, a safe bet. And 34 of the 48 wins by favorites they've covered the puck line. So definitely the -1.5 is one way I will attack it. And I'll even put a smaller bet on -2.5 just because Carolina can't seem to score. They've been missing 2 of their best defensemen in Jalen Chatfield and Sean Walker for the last 2 games. So that is hurting them. Their goaltending situation is once again a mess. I was joking before this round of the playoffs that the over/under of starting goalies was 1.5, and I was taking the over. It just Freddie Anderson, he can carry you only so far. So the puck line is the way to play. And then one prop that I'll give out for now is Evan Rodriguez of the Florida Panthers to get an assist. 3 games ago, it was at +2. It was at +300. Last game, it got down to +215, and I think for tomorrow, it's sitting at about 170. So the books are slowly catching on, but he's got 6 assists. He leads the Panthers in scoring in this round against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Earlier today, Jonathan Davis is our guest here, cashing out VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Read JD's daily NHL article over at VSiN.com, where he's got tons of plays like he just gave out here on the show. Earlier today, Jonathan, Edmonton goes up 2-1 on Dallas, 6-1. Hyman with a couple of goals. Oilers have a couple of guys with 3 assists apiece. They're locked in. The offense is really rolling. They've outscored Dallas 9-1 over the last 2 games. Before we get to Game 4, what do you make of what we've seen so far in the Western Conference Final?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting kind of boring. Like today, it was just if you're a Dallas fan, or I'm sorry, if you're an Edmonton fan, it was a great game. If you're a Dallas hater, it was a great game. But, overall, like the conference finals have been less than exciting. But for Edmonton fans, and look, here's one thing that you can hold your hat to. They've got 18 different players that have scored a goal in the playoffs this year. That's tied with Florida. Hockey Night in Canada had put out a stat today. I think that they were at about 45% of their goals 2 years ago were scored by McDavid and Draisaitl. It went down slightly last year. This year it's at 18%. So, the balanced scoring on this team has helped carry this team. It's taken the weight off of McDavid and Draisaitl. And still, Connor hit 22 points today. Draisaitl's at 21. They lead this team in scoring, but they haven't had to be the guys. They've got 7 players that have scored 5 goals in the playoffs. I don't believe any other team has more. It's been very balanced. And Zach Hyman, who you mentioned, this is a guy that's he's hit over 50 goals last year. He's hit 40 before with Edmonton, but he's made his mark in the playoffs literally with his body. Dustin, he had 59 hits in 73 games in the regular season. He's had 108 hits, including 9 today in 15 games. This is a guy that's altered his game, but still has the ability to find the back of the net.
Wow. DiMaggio-like hit run for Hyman there.
Yes.
How we look at Game 4 right now, Edmonton is a favorite, -166. You can get +140 on Dallas. Total 6.5. Juiced -120 to the under. You can get even money if you like the over there. Well, how are we going to play this? What are the plays for Dallas and Edmonton?
Well, for sure the puck line. For sure. And look, I would, if you like Dallas, I would even attack both teams on the puck line and Dallas on the reverse puck line at -1.5 if you want to go that way. Because like 18 of the 28 wins in the playoffs by the underdog this year, they have covered the reverse puck line. So they've won by 2 goals. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for a point, or really I would actually target him for an assist. He's got 7 points in the last 3 games, three consecutive multi-point games. He's a guy that you've got to have his shots prop, his assist prop, a lot of value in both of those. So that's the way I would attack it. If you can get a total of 6, I would look at the over 6. I feel better about that. Maybe you can same game parlay, the Dallas puck line with over 6.
He's Jonathan.
Or Edmonton puck line and over 6.
We got you. You can follow Jonathan Davis at West Coast HKY. And of course, head to VSiN.com. The NHL articles are awesome. They're thorough. They're literally my show prep every night. JD, thanks for doing this. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Anytime, sir. Take care, Dustin. Have a great rest of your night.
Coming up next, we'll look at individual matchups, mano a mano, and how it led me to a team total tomorrow in Major League Baseball that I love against a hot pitcher.
Sports Betting Network.
Doing this thing all night long. Pause. It's Cashing Out. I'm Dustin Swedelson, filling in for Joe Serralo tonight. Appreciate you joining me. However, you may be consuming the program. VSiN, of course, on SiriusXM channel 158. Catch us over at YouTube and as well the VSiN Watch app, which you can download right now wherever you get your apps, Android or iPhone. Although I don't know who's still using Androids, because if I text you and the green color comes up, if you're looking to not get messages from me, you've made the right choice. In fact, you know what? I'm kind of an antisocial person. Maybe that's the move I should have made. Maybe I should have done that, gotten an Android, because the second I see that, I'm like, you know what? We're not playing this on my eyeballs. It just doesn't feel right. So that's where we're at. I'm getting a lot of hate from the back. By the way, the back, our crew, it's a great crew. It's a crew I've worked with many times who I love. I sound very presidential right now. But what I'd say is they're haters. They're hating on me, hating on Androids. They also were hating on the New York Knicks, where, in case you missed it, the New York Knicks tonight came back down 20 on the road at Indiana, end up winning 106-100. Game stays under the total, and the Knicks is a slight dog, plus 1.5, make that series 2-1. Can make the argument the Knicks could be up 2-1. Instead, they're down 2-1. Could also make the case Indiana should be up 3-0. I can't believe they blew a 20-point lead at home. That was a team that I thought were killers. Like, Tyrese Halliburton had emerged for me as the closer in this postseason run. When they were up 20, around 20 at the break, I had no thoughts as a Knicks fan that New York was going to come back, one, make it a game, but two, dominate, especially when you factor in Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble right out of the jump. I mean, he was unavailable, barely played the fourth quarter. Karl Anthony Towns carried them on his back, and Big Purr leads New York to a win tonight. We'll talk more about that coming up in our next segment. Jonathan Von Tobel, you know him from Money Moves with Stormy here on the network, but more importantly, he is our senior NBA analyst. I don't know who our junior NBA analyst is. I guess we can discuss that with him. It's not Zach Cohen. He's our managing editor. It's not Kelly Bidlin. He is the co-host of A Numbers Game. So who's our junior NBA analyst? These are the questions I want answered here at VSiN. I demand answers. Well, if the question is what team total do I love tomorrow night, I have an answer for that. VSiN may not, but I do. And the answer is coming up shortly, because I want to do a little mano-y-mano. And I think what's interesting about mano-y-mano is everyone gets this wrong. Everyone thinks mano-y-mano means man versus man. And I'm not fluent in Spanish. I barely passed it. Luckily, I had a crush on my Spanish teacher in 9th grade, and she was really young and really cool, and luckily she passed me. But I know enough Spanish to know that mano-y-mano means hand in hand. And that's why I think when you look at baseball and you're handicapping, mano-y-mano matters, because lefty versus righty splits, they tell you everything. In today's baseball, there are so many guys that make a living purely based on the fact that they mash one side of the plate. So what we're going to do here over the course of this segment, we're going to look at the specific batter versus pitcher matchups, but also guys who have good matchups on Memorial Day Monday on the betting card, where they're taking on either a righty or lefty, and that's what they're dominating this year. So let's begin with the hitter versus pitcher when it comes to mano-y-mano. And you could probably catch my vibe here, as the top of the board features 3 players from the same team. The late game tomorrow has one of the late games, has the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Arizona Diamondbacks doing battle in the desert. Right now, Arizona is a heavy favorite, minus 192, plus 160 on Pittsburgh. That total is 9. And the reason why Arizona is such a heavy favorite has nothing to do with Ryan Nelson, because if we're going to go based purely on pitchers, Andrew Heaney's been awesome this year. He's having a great season. He's 33 years old, and he's probably going to get traded out of Pittsburgh to a contender to be some rotational depth for a playoff team. But I think this is a horrible matchup for him. I think this is a spot where the old Andrew Heaney, who we've known for a while, he's been in the majors for a few years now, where I do think Arizona is a team a year ago that killed lefties. This year they're around 12th in OPS, but this is a spot where I think they could come to life. As things heat up here, I think Arizona's offense is going to come alive. And from a player-by-player matchup, there's three key guys here. Ketel Marte has awesome numbers against Andrew Heaney, 4 of 10 lifetime, 2 homers and a double. So that's 3 of his 4 hits are extra base hits. Lourdes Gurriel against Heaney's 4 of 8, 500. Naylor also really good, 500 with 2 doubles against Heaney. That's a lefty-on-lefty matchup. I wouldn't look at him. If I was going to go player prop here, and I'm going to go team total instead, but player prop, you can go over 1.5 total bases on Marte at -135 or over 1.5 total bases on Lourdes Gurriel at -115. I think both are very, very playable on Monday because I do think Heaney does get knocked around by this lineup. Also, when we look at the depth with Arizona, we'll get to another hitter from their lineup as we look at the splits. But they just have a lot of lefty killers. Someone I'm not even going to mention, Randall Grichuk, is a lifetime lefty killer in that lineup. So I just think top to bottom, they're going to knock around Pittsburgh. We'll go team total Arizona over 4.5, -137 on the juice there. I mentioned his name earlier, and I'm still waiting for these books to post props. The problem is the New York Yankees haven't announced who's starting tomorrow. This is driving me nuts. Either way, he's a play. It's Taylor Ward taking on the Yankees because everything I've seen, it looks like it's Carlos Rodon or it's going to be Ryan Yarbrough. And Taylor Ward, who kills lefties for his career around a .280 hitter, he has really good numbers against both. Against Rodon, he's 3 of 8. That's .375 with a double. Against Ryan Yarbrough, he's 4 of 8. It's a .500 batting average. Pretty good math on my part with a double there. I just think that Taylor Ward's a guy that I'm going to have action on Memorial Day Monday because he hits lefties so well. He's also one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. He is out of his mind. He's been a big reason why LA went on that big winning streak. So he's someone that I think is worth targeting once the props are posted. Now, this next hitter's kind of auto. You just have to find ways to back him because the juice sometimes isn't great for the better, and that's Freddie Freeman. He's going to take on Gavin Williams, who, to be fair, Gavin Williams has figured some things out, got off to a tough start, but has been better of late. Freeman, 2 of 3 lifetime. It's a small sample size, but when I combine that Freeman's been really good this year, I think he's in the MVP conversation as a long shot, potentially. He's someone I'd think about taking on Gavin Williams. And then the New York Mets. I'm not sure this guy's going to play or not. I'm not sure if Brandon Nimmo is going to hit the IL, but Brandon Nimmo is going to take on Adrian Hauser and the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, the Mets coming off a sweep of the Dodgers. They are the big favorite in that matchup. They're -$3. So you can't do anything there. If you want to lay a run and a half, it's -142. It's also a home team. So you're going to lose that extra at bat in the ninth. I can't lay -142 on -1.5. It is still baseball, Susan. Anything can happen. So we should look for some player props to attack here as Adrian Hauser, a former Met from a year ago, takes on his former team in Clay Holmes. And I think Nimmo, if he's in the lineup, should they deem him healthy enough, is a guy I'd think about using. 4 of 7, a .571 average against Hauser lifetime, 1 homer, a double, a 1,700 OPS. He has great numbers against the guy who doesn't miss bats. He's a contact pitcher. I think Nimmo is very live. And then the last one when it comes to hitter versus pitcher, I touched on him briefly. And you got to have some guts to make this play. But Tucker Barnhart, the backup catcher for Texas, if he's even in the lineup. But I got to say, Texas bats have been so bad this year. They make the move to Brett Boone as the new hitting coach. They might have to play Tucker Barnhart based on the numbers lifetime against Kevin Gossman. He's 3 of 9. He's got a homer. He's got 2 doubles. It's nothing but extra base hits. I'm not seeing anything from player props posted there. But if I were, I would think about Tucker Barnhart, especially if it's a plus price. I'm not going to lay a number with Tucker Barnhart, but if we can get like +130, +140, +150 even, I'm not sure what it'll be because he's a backup catcher. Him against Gossman would be something that I would think about come Monday. Hey, are you ready to get in on the action? Well, our friends over at First Bet, they've got you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or your computer. All you have to do is go visit firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use promo code VEASAN200, and you'll score a 20% rebate on all of your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today. Go to firstbet.com. That's 1stbet.com. I'm Dustin Swedelson. This is Cashing Out, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got a lot to get to in today's program. I've got 4 player props when it comes to Western Conference Final and the game tomorrow, Game 4 between Oklahoma City and Minnesota. A couple of them we're going to lay heavy juice on, but I'll explain why I think it's worth it because we're talking effort. We're talking about bounce back, and we're talking about a team that I've fully bought in on. And our next guest is Jonathan Von Tobel, and he's been yelling at me to buy into the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I've finally done so. So I'm going to have to, unfortunately, do something I don't like to do. Again, I said earlier in the show, I'm wrong a lot. I just don't often admit it. I'm admitting I'm wrong in this situation, and I'm going to tell JVT all about it. He'll join us, and also I have to get his perspective. He was not high on my New York Knicks coming in the playoffs. I wasn't high on them for most of tonight. Are we both high if we think they might be live to still win the series? I'll ask JVT next on Cashing Out.